This video is going to be a massive breakdown of Roman supers in Destiny 2 and how you can effectively use them as a player and on Titans. This video is exclusive to Titans for Roman supers and how to effectively use them in this game. This is not going to be covering Warlock or Hunter builds, as because we're doing a massive breakdown, they all need their own individual videos. So if this video does well, then I'll do one for Hunters and Warlocks as well, for the Roman super side of things. So, two different styles of supers in Destiny 2. You've got one-shot style supers, which revolves around a 3-second super animation generally, where you throw something at a boss, or you T-crash a boss, or you do something like that. And then your super's done, and then you go back to gunplay and ability gameplay. Then you've also got Roman supers, which revolves around more mechanics, and it revolves you run around the map with a super popped. That's the difference, the description between the two different supers. Biggest disparity of information is revolving around Roman supers. The amount of conversations I've had with people, especially this season, about Roman supers, or why are you using that super? Why is that super good as opposed to this super? Why not just use Nova Bomb? Why not just use this? Why not just use Thunder Crash? Yeah, and it goes on and on and on, and it's layered. Roman supers have a lot of layered mechanics to them, and they're a lot more complicated, and I think it scares people off because they don't really know how to use them effectively and they lose damage. Now, Edge of Fate numbers here on screen will show you when you're at a 200 stat build next season, if you do choose to run it, that's a 45% buff to super damage on the table. Now, you could run 200 stat super build, but if you don't use your Roman super properly, you're still going to leave damage on the table because you haven't used it properly. That's what this video is to serve you for, to get you to the grips with it. So, first and foremost, we're going for, Titan. This is an exclusive Titan video. Now, I'm going to go through this. One of the videos is going to be the breakdown of all of it. Then part 2 is going to be the demonstration of what you should do and what you shouldn't do with damage numbers to back it up. There are more angles I can penetrate with this video, for example, like champion damage, champion versatility, add clear potential in GMs, survivability, damage resistance, super armor. There's a whole host of things, but if I go too far, the video could be too long, 30-40 minutes, and that's no good for algorithm. It needs to be 20 minutes or less. So Fist of Havoc, that's the first Roman super that we're covering. So you've got the light attack, quickly charge forwards, dealing damage to any impacted targets, which is a shoulder charge. And then you've got the heavy slam attack, which blinds enemies. You can see on the left-hand side, it blinds unstops. So this is a very versatile Roman super that has inbuilt damage resistance, which is 90% resist you get. Very good for add dense activities. So the test that I did with Striker, I did not involve anything other than knockout, because knockout has some unique effect with the slams, right? As it does impact. So I'll go for base damage. But if there's any class where I need to put an extra aspect on just to prove a point, I'll do that. So it's not flat base. It's a bit above base because we're using an extra damage bonus here just to prove a point about something, about what we're talking about Striker. Because Striker Titan, well, Fist of Havoc has inbuilt high ground. So if you slam and the slam is longer than 1 second, you get 4 aftershock waves to a boss. You will get additional damage if your super slam animation is more than 1 second. Now, your slam animation may well be less than 1 second if you don't jump. So the goal with this is to slam a boss, preferably at height. Then you're going to jump, not too high, just a little bit. You're going to jump up, slam, jump up, slam, jump up, slam. This will increase your damage, and I've got footage to prove that it does that. Whereas if you just slam over and over with your feet on the ground, you're not getting the 4 aftershock waves that I'm on about. It's the biggest misconception surrounding Fist of Havoc. It has built-in high ground. You need to take advantage of it. To get the additional shock waves, you need to have your slam animation longer than 1 second. I'll show you the footage to prove it. So that's the first super. Like I said, we didn't use this. I didn't use anything. The artifact was locked off the entire time. Didn't use Symphoceps. Didn't use any buff and exotics at all for any of these tests. Only a couple of aspects when to prove a point. Alright, next Roman Supers, Solar subclass. Alright, so we've got a couple of things going on because there's two. Solar Titan has two. It's got Hammer of Sol and Burning Maul. For both tests I ran Sol Invictus because it's going to prove a point in the video of where people lose damage in their Hammer of Sol gameplay. So this is very important. That's why I've applied it. Sol Invictus goes on for the sunspots. You get a sunspot on cast with these supers when you do that. Burning Maul, it helps. So Hammer of Sol. When you pop a super, you're going to get a sunspot on cast. That's going to increase a lot of things for you while you're in a sunspot. As soon as you go out of that sunspot, you lose a lot of benefits. And that's what my footage is going to prove. Now, so Hammer of Sol is pretty straightforward. There's no combinations you can do. It's not like Fists of Havoc where you get it. Well, you do get extra if you're in a sunspot, but that's about it. You get more damage with the hammers if you're from range. The hammer needs to have flight time of 0.7 seconds to get additional shrapnel damage. Burning Maul. So Burning Maul has two tactics. You can either slam over and over and over and make Cyclone Flames while standing in a sunspot, which you get massive gains, or you can spin to win. So the footage at the end will show you is it better to spin to win or is it better to slam over and over. Now, depending on what you're doing in GMs and stuff, might be better to slam over and over. But if you need single target damage, might be better to do spin to win. But I'll show you the footage and the damage to back it up. Okay, other Roman supers, what else have we got? Okay, let's go Void. Only one Roman super on Void, and that's Sentinel Shield. Now, we're not really testing Shield Throw. So there's a Shield Throw, there's a block, but that's for team gameplay. Forget about that for a minute. And then you've got light attack. You've got R1 to attack. This super has two combos. A free hit attack combo where it's light, heavy. It does like a light shield bash. Or a 2-hit combo when you're airborne, light, heavy. That's how it goes. So in the footage at the end, we need to prove which is the better combo. Not a lot to Sentinel Shield, but we need to test it because it's a Roman super. No aspects were used. You can buff it up with stuff, but I didn't do anything. Nothing was used. Okay, Strand, Banner of... well, not Banner of War, but Berserker. Berserker takes massive gains from Banner of War, by the way. I have not used Banner of War at all, because we don't need to do that. We know that Banner of War would massively buff this super. It's more about the combinations. There's different things here. You can unleash a heavy attack, or you can do light swings, severing them, and it increases attack speed on successive hits. So what's the difference there? Now, champ damage, GMs, the heavy attack is very useful because it stuns, unstops, and it suspends any target that makes them vulnerable. It's very incredible. Also, on a damage style of things, it is important as well. So yeah, obviously Symphoceps, there's a lot of things that would buff it. Banner of War, but we're not using that because obviously it's assumed that the Banner of War would buff it anyways. Okay, final Roman super is Behemoth, sorry. Alright, Behemoth's a very complicated super in terms of what it does. It does a lot for us. It's got its heavy attack slam that makes stasis crystals and freezes and they shatter. Then you've got your supercharged Shiver Strike. It's a Shiver Strike that you can spam back to back and it does shatter damage when they're frozen. So there's different combinations you can do. For example, you could do heavy attack over and over and over and then maybe do a Shiver Strike, or just spam Shiver Strike back to back to back to back. Now, the next pieces of advice about this are very important and I need you to listen very carefully. If you're on Glacial Quake, Prismatic, and you run Symphoceps Spirit, this will not buff your super damage, but it will buff melee damage. However, listen to it, the Glacial Quake heavy attack is counted as super damage. the Shiver Strike attack on the super is not counted as super damage, it's counted as melee damage. So when you're on Prismatic Glacial Quake, you use Shiver Strike because Spirit of Sinful will buff Shiver Strike, but it will not buff the crystals. However, Symphoseps will buff both. It will buff both Shiver Strike and the Glacial Quake super itself, the heavy attack. So that's very important to know. I didn't do any of my tests with that stuff, but I'm just telling you about it. It's very important. So yeah, the footage at the end will show you things that you should do with this super and things that you shouldn't. But bear in mind when you're seeing the test, remember what I've told you about the prismatic thing. Shiver Strike is coded as a melee and works with Spirit of Sinful. Because Spirit of Sinful does not buff super, but standardized Symphoseps does buff super and melee. It does two things. Spirit of Sinful only buffs melee, not super. But Shiver Strike's coded as a melee. Yeah? In this sense. That's why you see speedrunners use just the Shiver Strike, generally. With the Spirit of Symphos. Okay, so that's the information on it. I'll show you the test at the end. Remember, this is just a total damage of like... of what you should do and what you shouldn't. You know, it's not a test. We can't test every single thing in the game. You know, I'm not going to load up a GM and test killing one champ over and over with all these supers, because the knowledge is there in this video for you to apply to everything you do in the game. And remember, one-shot supers do more DPS because they're done quicker. So if Thunder Crash lasts 2-3 seconds, whatever, it's ended, you can then damage a boss with your weapons. But that's when you're timed DPS. Dungeons, raids where you're timed, yes. But when you're against difficult content like GMs, you know, stuff like that, on a combat sense, then Roman supers are more valuable over Roman, especially solo, because you can generate far more super energy than you can on a Thunder Crash. But yeah, don't get that confused. This video is not too much about DPS. It's more about what you should and what you shouldn't do with Roman supers. That was the analysis part of the video. Then now on with the tests. Okay, so with the test, we're going to use the Grasp of Arise dungeon boss because he's got a big hitbox on him. He's good for testing area effect damage because some of these supers are that very nature. First test goes in Fist of Havoc. This is what not to do on Fist of Havoc super. I'm going to show you what not to do. This is Space Cadet damage. A lot of you lot do this with fists. This is why you don't like the super, because you don't do it properly. I'll show you how not to do it right now, watch. So we go in with a fist, we don't jump. We're not jumping, although the boss made me jump. So I got some extra damage there because of the animation damage I mentioned. So look, we're just doing base slams on the floor, no jumping. Look at the damage. Very poor, isn't it? Let's see the damage. Let's see that Space Cadet damage. 312, 726. So remember 312, 726, Fist of Havoc. Now we'll go over to what you should be doing. This is what I've been doing all season. No wonder I've been killing champs faster than most because of this trick. So same test goes in. We have got knockout. We had knockout in the last clip as well. Although it's a bit longer duration, that's fine. So we jump. Good loyal jump. Start getting more aftershock damage. Damage is already noticeable higher. But look, 6 slams apiece. Both clips were 6 slams apiece. So look, we're jumping up. Some loyal slams. The super's a lot. The damage is a lot more. It doesn't maybe look that much more, but it is. Just watch. 491. That's a massive bump by just jumping between slams. There you go. It's in the writing. Next test, Hammer of Sol. Gonna show you what not to do. Look, we made a sunspot and we ran out of it. So this is non-sunspot damage via Hammer of Sol. This is what you shouldn't be doing. Look, super runs out quick, although it does better than Fist of Havoc. Like a Space Cadet Fist of Havoc, it does a bit better than that. 487, loyal damage. Not bad, that's with no buffs. And we didn't stand in sunspot. That's what you shouldn't do. When you're up against champ damage, boss damage, whatever it is, don't run out of that sunspot if you can help it. Or at least make a new one. Right, next, watch, this is how you should use it. Stand in the sunspot. Now look at that. the super drain energy is much less, and the damage is just much more loyal. Yeah, it burns a bit more, but that's fine. We're just getting the common sense stuff. It's what should you be doing? I'm not going to wait for him to burn. Look, 684, much more than before, a lot more in fact, just by standing in a sunspot. Right now it's burning more. I'm going to show you what not to do first, like I've been doing. So we'll pop it. No, sorry, we're not. We're doing sunspot damage, but heavy attack, because we know that you need to stand in a sunspot regardless. I've already proved that to you. This is all heavy attack cyclones. So that's the damage. We didn't need to improve that in any sense. That was really straightforward. I want to see the damage between heavy attack and spin to win. So 371. 182. What does spin to win equate to? This boss has a good hitbox on him. This is why we test with him, really. So let's see what spin to win does. We'll have a sunspot as well, because you get a sunspot on cast. There we go, look. Go to the boss. We get a sunspot on him. Just spin to win. Let's just see what the damage is. Some of that damage was non-sunspot damage because he moved out of it a little bit. But that, I can tell you, that's still more than the heavy attack. So the spin to win's very effective. Yeah, 466. It's a lot more. It's quite a bit more. Right now, Void Titan. There's two combos. So we're going to do the base 3-shot combo. This got patched. Sentinel Shield was bugged a few months ago. That no longer exists. And I think the animation's fixed as well. That's 3-shot combo, light, heavy, light, heavy. What's that damage? I have to cover Sentinel Shield because it is a Roman Super. 520, yeah, it's alright for that. That's no buff, no Symphos, no nothing. Right, let's try the other combo. It's the aerial combo. This was the bug, but I'm not doing bug damage like it was. So you sort of jump up and do the 2-hit combo look like that. I can already see it's slightly worse because it's taken too long to get the combo out. So the free hit combo is better. You can see that it is. 478. A little bit worse, but not much. So there's barely any difference. But that I need to cover it because it's a Roman Super. Right. Let's try Banner of War. Strand Titan. No Banner of War. Just light swings. Remember, the more light swings you hit, the more damage you get, the more quicker the melee will be. So no heavy attack, just light swings over and over and over. Let's see what that damage equates to. Remember, you won't suspend on light swing, only heavy attack. 494. 870. That's no Banner of War, no Symphos. That's what you shouldn't do. I can tell you that in advance. This is the footage what you should do right here. This is the combos you should. So we're going to go in with super heavy attack, then light swings. Yeah, and then when you get the cooldown back, heavy attack again, then light swings. That's exactly how you use this super properly. Yeah, damage is a little different than what it was with the light swings. So yeah, it's more damage. It's just flat more. 566. Right, Glacial Quake. Here we go. I'm going to do the heavy attack spam first. So we're just going to do heavy attack spam. Remember, there's a lot of RNG with Glacial Quake, so bear that in mind. But the damage is loyal. Remember, this is no Sympho damage. This is showing you basically how you should use this super. When you're on base stasis, especially with Symphos, this is probably what you should do. But remember, on Prismatic Glacial Quake, it's a little different because Spirit of Symphos buffs Shiver Strike 1.2 mil. Much more damage than any other Roman super to this point. It's basically the best Roman super that Titan has. Glacial Quake for damage, for raw damage. Right now I'm going to do something different. I'm going to pop super and then it's just all Shiver Strike. This is what you should not do. If you do not have Symphoceps on, never do this gameplay. Look at how bad it is. Well, I mean, it's not too bad, but it's definitely worse than 1.2 mil, isn't it? So that's all Shiver Strike damage. Nah, not worth doing it like that. So I'm going to do another combination now just to test it, where we do a mixture of heavy attack and light swing, heavy attack and shoulder charge, shall we say, and see the differences. Because we hit 1.2 before. So, so we're going to do light swing. In theory, it should crush all of the crystals. So heavy attack, light swing, heavy attack, light swing. You can automatically see that it's worse. So yeah, on big tanky bosses, better to just spam the heavy attack. But obviously if you're on prismatic glacial quake, things change. I have told you about that multiple times. 638. That was a video on showing you how to use Roman supers effectively in Destiny 2 on a Titan. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.